Hey everyone, Cherise here. Welcome back or welcome if it's your first video in this channel. And today it's time for a new monthly plan with me video for my June bullet journal setup. So grab your notebooks and get creative as we make new planning spreads together. I also have two exciting announcements later, so stay tuned for that. This is going to be my last monthly setup in this notebook. I was so excited when I started using it, but like I shared with you in my previous videos, I think you'll understand why I feel a bit of relief right now. Anyway, we are doing a theme-based monthly BuJo setup as always, but the theme I chose is quite unusual, which is all about cheese. Well, I don't see much like it as a theme, though the whole vibe I'm going to do today resembles a picnic. So let's prepare some more supplies. I'm using watercolors again for my illustrations, but you're gonna see me use mixed media along the process, and you can find all the items I'm using in the description box below if something piques your interest. For the cover, I decided to paint a cheese board on a separate paper. It is a 180 GSM vellum board. An actual watercolor paper is also ideal, but you can certainly paint directly on the pages of your notebook if the surface is uncoated and a minimum thickness of 160 GSM. You'll notice that if the paint is absorbed nicely and quickly and not kind of pulling and taking some time to dry. In which case, the latter is how the pages of this notebook are, so I decided to use a separate uncoated paper, allowing me to paint easily. But this is just for the cover page. You will see me directly painting on the pages in the next spreads, and those are just sort of moments of endurance, I guess, for me, but I am still giving my best for that. We started picking up some shades of yellow and white for the cheeses and begin painting those elements on our board. I highly recommend doing a sketch first so you can arrange and align them as much as possible with how you envision them or get as close to your reference photo. You can find lots of images on Google so you can mix and match. There's no right or wrong way of painting cheese as they come in different textures and colors, so we're just using different shades of yellow for the base. We have white cheese here, but we're just adding a tinge of yellow. We can also create variations in the sizes, like some are sliced, a bar, or a whole. If you're particular with cheeses, maybe you can identify the little blue cheese here. And yes, it is the one that we painted with green for the molds. But we don't really have to make it look like a specific kind of cheese. Some of them look similar anyway. And then we are just painting the shadows with either a mix of gray or brown to make the shapes dimensional. We try to paint our way by shades before jumping into a different color, so the next element we painted are the crackers. These have similar colors with the cheeses, but having more brownish tones. I'm using a round brush for the base and a detail brush to paint the details, of course. But if your small round brush have a pointy tip, you can use that as well with a very light pressure if you don't have a detail brush. Though I recommend getting one so you can make thinner strokes with ease. This is going to look more like a charcuterie board since we're going to add our next component, which are some cured meats. So we're using a mix of Naples yellow and light oxide. And we are already painting others that are close to it in terms of color, such as dried peaches and strawberries. We are also not trying to achieve precise paintings of these components, so you can see me painting them in a loose way. I also almost forgot the red grapes here, so I quickly added them. Although the sketch is a helpful guide, a composition like this where there are so many things going on can be confusing, but if you can simplify it, that would also be great. Next, to add a bit of a contrast, we're adding some blueberries around, and we're also using the same color to paint the check patterned linen around the whole brie cheese on the center. Then we're just adding the rest of the accompaniments like olives and some leafy decorations around the board. I really wanted the elements to pop nicely in this illustration, and I know this step is going to take me forever, but I still proceeded to painting the wooden board in the background with a darker shade of brown, and I'm solely using the detail brush for this so I don't disturb the foreground painting. So I fast forwarded some of the parts, and this is how it looks when it's done. You probably also heard me say, I don't want to add extra papers in my next setup in this notebook. But maybe, just maybe, this notebook can still hold up. I just really think that this suits the whole theme. But of course, I won't be making any bulky interactive pieces like the trackers. So for this, I intentionally picked a thinner paper or copy paper to print out the colors I want. I was choosing between craft and the dark brown with purple undertone for the background and ended up with the latter. But honestly, I'm not sure with the color choice. I always believe that craft always look good with anything, but tell me what you think in the comments. And lastly, we're writing the June title above using a white gel pen in a bold serif font and horizontal lines. We have our craft paper on the left side for my calendar. I was only thinking of simply drawing the calendar with a black pen, but the idea of painting wood patterns on this paper came to mind to create a wooden board, and I tried whether I could paint with watercolors in it, just like how a brush pen would. It did the job quite well, but I still needed to control the consistency and application so it doesn't feather much. When it comes to the layout, I used a white gel pen instead to draw the grid. I was distracted at this point. A good distraction actually, so I didn't feel bad when I exceeded the number of rows. Then I wrote a Bible verse below from Luke 1:45. Blessed is she who believes that the Lord would fulfill his promises to her. Alright, that's finally our cover and calendar spread. It is time to flip onto the next pages, and we start with a painting again. And now I'm painting directly on it, and this time we are painting a humble and round charcuterie board. We still have similar components here, but we're just going with green grapes this time and a blueberry compote. A fun fact about me that I want to share with you today is I am a hotel and restaurant management graduate. So when I first had my internship, I was assigned to a champagne bar. And there was a time I was scrutinizing the menu because a cheese board is listed and it is so expensive. I was so immature back then with a very little urban life experience as I grew up in the province. And interestingly, cheeses were not covered extensively in the university I went to. So I was like, I doubt anybody would order this. And after some time, a couple of guests came and just ordered white wine and a cheese board. And that's it. When the cheese board is ready and I saw the serving and I served it, in my mind, I was just, I hope you enjoy it. As an intern, I didn't really have the guts to upsell or recommend anything, but I learned along the way, and one of those is each guest's taste is unique and just let them enjoy what they like. I haven't tried one of these in my former career, if you ask me. Pieces of cheese maybe, but the whole board itself, I'm still intrigued. Anyway, we also painted a yellow kitchen linen around to complete this little illustration. And I wasn't planning on doing this since I wanted to print it out, but our printer's cartridge is not in a good condition. I still wanted to make a thick border around the spread, so I will use gouache instead. It's been a long time since I picked up some gouache, and I forgot how this is more ideal to paint on a coated surface like this. The only reasons I used it less often is because it can be reactivated by my moist hand and how it takes me quite some time to mix. So I wanted a grayish color for the border, so I took white, viridian, burnt sienna, and black and mixed them on this acrylic palette using a filbert brush. I thought I needed the black one, but it's looking too cool for me, so I'm adding yellow instead and more white and burnt sienna to make it warmer. Then we're using a ribbed craft paper on the bottom left corner to match the color of the illustration and drew some imperfect grid lines. We're using the white gel pen as well to write the monthly plans header in a cursive font and our goals and focus titles with black pen in serif. We're making this layout very simple and spacious for writing, dividing each section into 4 so I can write up to 4 goals with corresponding actions to achieve them, and 4 weekly focus or what I need to prioritize each week. Alright, that's our simple monthly plan spread. Let's move on to creating my habit trackers page. I was looking into various pictures on Google and found some tiered cheese display, so I thought of incorporating those for the layout of this tracker. So let's start painting the cheeses. We're using different shades of yellow likewise, or different kinds of cheese and textures. But these are mostly going to be on the background, so you can see me not painting the entire piece of cheese because these areas are gonna be covered later and I'm just following my pencil sketch. It's also nice to arrange the colors of the cheese alternately. For example, we don't paint all the bright yellows on one side or all the whites on the other side so we can have a balanced look overall. Then we are also painting the shadows with a shade darker than the base, and also trying to create textures by lightly dabbing the tip of our brush to make some holes. Next, we are painting the two-tier wooden stand and a separate bigger board with dark brown. There's also a knife which we are painting with light gray and a mix of yellow ochre and Van Dyke brown. I noticed while editing the video that the tier looked like floating, but I just wasn't able to paint the surface, so the white spaces create the illusion. Anyway, for the trackers itself, we are using these colored papers again that I cut into boxes, and these are the little chalkboard labels that are placed on the cheese to identify the kind. We're just using our white gel pen to draw a little border, the round shapes that will be shaded for every habit done, and the titles. We also decorated the upper left corner with a ripped craft paper. I was thinking where to write the habit tracker title, but I guess I'm just leaving it as is again. I'm pretty happy with this layout. I think it's my favorite in this setup, but when we are done with the habit tracker, we used the white spaces on the next page to write the devotional plan I chose to take from the Bible app. It is a 5-day plan called Move Again, and I will also include a link of it in the video description in case you'd like to take it as well. The layout is gonna be similar to my previous monthly setup where we made some tabs for each day, then a long craft paper on the edge of the page in the background, and another ripped paper on the bottom right corner of this spread just to fill the space. I wanted to use washi tapes to decorate the tabs, but I don't have designs that match the theme, so I decided to use 5 of these Eco-Line brush pens in similar color palette. In terms of the layout for each day, we're doing a simple lettering for the day number using the corresponding color we used for each tab, and outline them again with a black pen. We divide the whole spread into 5 where I'm writing the devotional summary, key verses, observation, application, and prayer. I include these sections in the digital or printable bullet journal that you can find on my shop, and the guide questions to help you better reflect on what each day of the devotional plan is about. I was able to finish the second day's layout here, but I will finish them later, so let's go to the next pages we need to make, which are my weekly spreads. I already cut these 3 horizontal Dutch doors beforehand, and we're starting with a panoramic painting on top. This painting is inspired by an array of cheese selections, so we're just painting different kinds of cheese in varied sizes and shades. This is what you can typically find in a buffet or a cheese shop, but those are mostly organized looking than what I painted here. You can certainly play around with this composition. You can arrange them however you want. Like I said before, it would be nice to alternate the shades. You can also stack some of the cheese and create different shapes and sizes to make it look interesting. I skipped some of the parts here, but I hope you got the idea. In general, I just start with a flat block of color for the base and separate them by adding shadows and sharp details using a darker tone. We're also painting the tiny chalkboards for some of them, just mainly on the center, and a little cheese knife. Next, we paint the wooden surface and an elevated display on the middle using burnt sienna and Van Dyke brown. I also want to paint the background with something warm, so I diluted the Van Dyke brown to paint a wash of warm grayish color. Then we can write our week's title on the left side using our black fine liner, and also do some little scribbles on the tiny chalkboards using our white gel pen. And that is our weekly spread painting all done. Now this is optional, but I decided to cut the sides of the horizontal Dutch doors too because I wanted to add some craft paper for decoration. Then we make our first weekly spread layout here where we're using this Tombow brush pen for the round background shapes and black pen for the dates and days of the week. I'm also writing a scripture to remind me for the week from John 8:12, saying, "When Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, 'I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life.'" And that is our weekly spread all done. We're on to the last spread we're gonna be making in this video, and that is the review and favorites in June. I'm using these Ecoline brush pens again to draw grid patterns. We're definitely having some picnic vibes here, and we're doing these thick lines freehand and draw 3 of them in different sizes. Then we draw the other boxes with simple lines. So like always, these are spaces to answer some open-ended questions like my small wins, I learned, challenges, a cheesy moment, I don't know if something like that will happen next month, then grateful for, and to improve. I wasn't able to print out colors similar to this, so I improvised again and used brush pens and separate drawing paper for it. Then I cut them into these small rectangular pieces, and we're adding this craft paper on the side first and glue the rectangular color boxes alternately. These are where I can write my favorite place, dish, snack, Bible verse, song, and show. We will have a review and faves title above using the 2 types of fonts we use in the entire setup. Now let's add some more color to our spread by painting one last illustration in this setup and in this notebook. And speaking of it, I usually use 2 notebooks a year and transition into a new notebook for the second half, and I'm still waiting for the new notebooks to arrive in the mail and see if there's something I can paint watercolors with, or if they have the uncoated surface that I prefer. So if not next week, hopefully they arrive the following week so I can start setting up for my mid-year bullet journal migration. I don't want to be so excited and just keeping my expectations low. Otherwise, I'll just use one of the empty notebooks that I have around. So we will see, and I hope you look forward to it. So yeah, the painting is very similar. The arrangement is just changed a little bit. You can actually create so many spreads with different charcuterie painting compositions. Okay, before we do a final flip through, there are two things I am so excited to share with you. First, a new sticker and art print collection called Royal Garden is now available. Even if summer is approaching, I wanted to still release these designs because why not? There are 6 new matte vinyl sticker sheets and 4 die-cut vinyl stickers. There are some sticker freebies and die-cut papers that I'm going to include in the first 50 orders. The Quaint Bookstore art print is also back because of your demand, and they are now available in 2 sizes. The grand piano art print is also here. You guys asked that as well from my April Plan With Me video, plus a print of my new digital artwork. The dress was inspired by my mom's old cross-stitch piece, and I thought it would fit in the whole theme of this collection. The second one is I finally finished building my Shopify website and is now live, so you can easily find the products you like with better navigation and appearance. I'm also now shipping to more than 180 countries. The only thing left that is limiting for me now is the payment method, which is still only via PayPal, since I live in a country where payments are limited for both international and local markets, but you can still pay with your credit or debit cards directly via PayPal guest checkout, even without creating a PayPal account. I provided all the steps you can follow so you can have a seamless payment experience and all the possible information you might need on the FAQ section. So head over to my website www.buycherries.com, which I will link on a video description, and feel free to browse. I would really appreciate that, and I hope you will leave with a little something. Thank you so much for taking the time to stop by. Alright, that's everything for this cheese or charcuterie inspired theme for my June 2024 bullet journal setup. It is indeed a cheesy theme, but I hope you enjoyed watching this Plan With Me video and inspired you as well for your own June spread layouts or for your future monthly setups. Remember that you can help this video to reach more journaling and art enthusiasts by liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more bullet journaling content from me. Thank you so much for watching. Have a blessed and relaxing month of June, and I'll talk to you soon in my next video. Bye!